Welcome to the Fulfillment Formula, where we are aiming to learn how to achieve with ease. So, yesterday, just a reminder of how we were able to shift to looking toward possibilities. And we were able to do that by using the visualization to connect with your most empowered, fulfilled self. And ideally, you can connect with this higher self, as I like to call her or him, to stay inspired instead of going into that forcing and over engineering energy. So, when you're connected with your higher self and clear on your vision, it's more like you're being pulled forward to take next steps. And you can start to see some clarity of where you want to go next. So hopefully you're starting to see that. Today, what we'll do is we'll get even more connected to your truth. And we'll do that by exploring what your deepest desires are, meaning what's important to you. And simply said, it's really your why. And I love it because now I know people talk about your why more often, and it's really just understanding your personal values. And then tomorrow we'll dive into how to focus these desires through a framework I use to begin creating and developing your desired outcomes. It's just basically what I call goals. And there'll be ones that you're very excited to pursue. So with that, today is all about living your truth. We'll uncover, like I said, your core values, your personal values, and learn how they serve as a compass or guidepost for you to experience your most fulfilling achievements. It's about making authentic choices, right? No more shooting on yourself. You'll be making decisions that resonate deeply with who you are so that you're feeling more empowered to make those decisions, and not only to feel successful or to get results, but so that you can feel deeply satisfied. I know in the past when I was younger and moving forward with goals I thought I should achieve, like that next promotion, felt really good for about 90 seconds. Then the stress comes in and all the other thoughts. So I promise you, this approach really helps with longer lasting feeling of fulfillment and satisfaction. So ultimately, by understanding your core values and living in alignment with them, we're strengthening the foundation for heart-driven success. And again, we're showing you a new way to live with more joy while getting your results. So, like I said, we're going to clarify and dig deeper on what's important to you, not your friends, not your family, not society. We want to learn about your personal values, which are present when you're happy. So that's a clue already. In other words, we want to learn what has meaning for you, what brings you pleasure. And we're going to start broadly speaking, and then we can relate it to different areas of your life, such as your career, your health, whatever you desire. And when we know what you really want in life, that's when you can be true to yourself. And we want to make sure that you can allow that information to guide you, or like I said, continue to pull you forward. Now, uncovering your values matters because when you become more aware of what's important to you, you'll have a better understanding about what genuinely motivates you. So there's these hidden motivations we aren't entirely aware of as we live our day-to-day lives, but they're the strongest ones in our lives. And it's interesting, they're so important to us, yet we're not entirely aware of them. Because of living our day-to-day lives, we get busy, we're dealing with a lot of noise sometimes. So if we can raise our awareness about them and create intentions or desired outcomes based on them, the more enthusiastic you'll feel to make the changes in your life. So I thought I'd share an example from my life of how this came to light. So every year I used to make a New Year's resolution to lose 10 pounds. And every year it didn't happen. So if there was a piece of chocolate cake in front of me, I would think, I'm going to enjoy it. I will lose my 10 pounds tomorrow, not today. And when I started learning about my values and thinking more about my health goals and what I really wanted, I noticed that I didn't care about weighing a certain amount. It was really a should, right? I was shoulding on myself. What I did care about was having more energy and feeling fit. Now, I know that sounds like an intangible goal, but I started to get really excited to figure out ways to feel that energy and fitness, basically. So I refined my health goals to reflect those two desires. And honestly, before that time, I didn't even realize energy was important to me. So on my path, I started learning more about how to give my body energy through getting better sleep, exercising, and modifying what I ate. Again, that seems like common knowledge, but when I was younger, it just sort of bypassed me. Maybe I heard it, but I didn't really know how to make it happen. That point in my life, I decided I'm going to learn how. And over time, I adopted new behaviors, again, in the hope of getting more energy. I started working out every other day. I started eating the Mediterranean diet, which I knew about, but I just veered away from it during college and a little bit post college. But what was really amazing was this way of living, it just allowed me to enjoy activities I knew I wanted to experience and eat what I like. So I wasn't really forcing myself to count calories or deprive myself in any way. And that's when I got the most amazing results. When my health goals were based on my values, again, specifically of having more energy, I ended up feeling better than ever. I ended up having more energy in my 30s and then in my 40s than I ever did in my 20s. And that's the power of getting clear on what really matters to you and stop shitting on yourself. Now, the best part is I lost 10 pounds because here's a secret. When you eat better and exercise, you might lose weight. But I share that because notice if there is a goal you have in mind, it might end up coming true or to fruition, but as a byproduct of you going for what you really desire, not because you forced it, or can come if you force it, but it's not enjoyable. So I hope you can see that knowing yourself better and accepting your truth can lead to you trusting yourself to go for what makes you happy. And when you build your goals on what you genuinely want, it leads you to just be more excited to pursue them versus, like I said, forcing yourself to take action. Because I love the saying, when there's passion, there's purpose, and there's action. So as you can see from my example, I was able to get the results because I was just more connected to my truth and I went for what I wanted, which is just much more enjoyable. So that's what I want for you. And that's what I really do with my coaching. I help people understand what's important to them and build a values-based life, which leads to a life they love. Now, with that information, we're going to do an exercise. And it's called a peak experience to help you dig deeper into what's important to you. So I'm going to ask you a question. And oh, I meant to say the play sheet is in the chat if you need it. But you can just write this in your note. I'm going to ask you a question, and I just want you to be relaxed and jot down the first thing that comes to mind, okay? I want you to think about a time in your life or a special peak moment when you felt like it was really rewarding or really poignant. And if you've done this exercise before, you can think of a new time, whatever comes to mind. It's important that the time frame is limited. It's like a snapshot in time or a moment in time. It could be 5 days, a day. It could be a summer. It could be last week. It could be 10 years ago. And when you're ready, I want you to write down what you remember about this moment. You can do this in your notes. And specifically, if you could answer these questions, where you were, what you were doing, who was around you, and what you were feeling. So when you're ready, what we'll do next is define your values. Again, what's important to you, but I want to do this without asking you directly. And again, I want to remind you that your values are present when you're happiest. They're how you express yourself and relate to other people. So does anyone want to share their example of what came up for them? I promise this is a fun exercise. Most people enjoy when we do this. I can share my own example, but I'm sure it wouldn't be as exciting as someone else's. I feel it. I feel Sheridan, come on.
Okay. So what came to mind for me was in May of 2022, I think. Yeah. May of 2022. I took a new role and at a different company and was just given a budget and a team to create. And so I had a lot of flexibility and it was really challenging, but that whole month, all I did was reach out to people in my network that I thought would be fantastic working on this team and really thinking through how people would relate to each other and what we needed. And basically doing that recruiting, which was a lot of lunches and meetings. And so had a lot of connecting with people. And then when somebody would come and join the company, that was validating for me, because most of them had worked for me in the past. And so, yeah, that just the whole experience of building a team that month was really fun.
My gosh, it sounds fun and so true for who you are, your personality, like in alignment with that from knowing you. I love it, Sharon. So I felt like I heard some values coming up, and I know that you are probably an expert in uncovering values, but I'll share what I heard. And, whenever I do this exercise, I say we're partners, I might not get it totally right. We can refine them, but it's always interesting to see. It's fascinating how the brain works, right? Like that just came to you. That was a couple of years ago, at least. And I assume that's the first, or at least one of the first ideas that came to you. So our brain is so powerful in telling us what we need to hear. So this is what came up for me. Fresh start. Something like a fresh start is exciting for you. I put autonomy, but now I think I'm going to change that. That could be it, but also leadership. Creativity, flexibility, because you said it. I'm thinking challenges, but I want to qualify it. Like I want to put another word, even if it's as simple as meaningful challenges, right? Like you were okay. Maybe it's problem solving instead of me. I don't know. Sometimes challenges just doesn't have as exciting of a tone for me or connotation.
Yeah.
Obviously connections. I put partnerships with that too, even though you're leading the team or building it. I can see that that's important to you. I'm going to put building something. It's almost like creativity, right? But it's building something. And then I'm not sure if you've ever taken Strengths Finder. I think you had. And I was wondering if individualization might be one of your strengths, where you're.
It's not my top 5. It's in my top 10. Yeah.
I was like, it's got to be up there. right? Where you put everything together, or maybe a ranger, I forget. Yeah,
A
so anyway,
ranger's my number one.
I was gonna say that might be
You
it.
got that, yep.
I'm a strengths nerd here. Anyway, do these resonate with you, Sheridan? Do you see from this
Absolutely.
story? Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, if you're aware, you might pick these out, but are there any that seem new or different that you maybe wouldn't have said, like, I don't know, fresh start or,
Fresh start is a good one. The creativity, I normally do not, I can't draw or paint or sing or anything act. I love people that can, but I've never thought of myself as a creative person. But absolutely, I was being creative in how I was designing that team and what roles were going to be involved. So yeah, I think that's a different way of thinking about creativity. Yeah.
yeah, and knowing what your ultimate goal was and the intention you shared, can you see how this feels more inspiring when you
Yes.
put it in context of your overarching goal, which I think you mentioned the first day, if it's okay for me to share it, right? It's focusing on your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how when I hear these values, I get excited for you.
Aw, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. This
So
was great. Yeah.
was that helpful? Okay, great.
Very.
So hopefully you can see how this exercise was meant to identify your values, again, what's important to you, but without coming out and asking you directly. I often joke with my clients, they're all such wonderful people that they're so lovely, they'll say wonderful things if I just said, what are your values? And it's not to say those things they say aren't important, but we want to get underneath it. Another one I'm just going to throw out for you, Sharon, is maybe variety. I wasn't sure if that was there for you, but which all these values are important if you're going to be building your business. So, so again, also you can see how a value is a way for you to express yourself and relate to other people. In fact, in your example, Sharon, you were mentioning how you were connecting with people and what it brought up for you. So again, remember, our deepest values are present when we're happy. So I want you to take some time to go through and create your own values list. So if you think of your story, again, if you've done this before, it's okay. Some of our core values shift. And you can use a couple different resources like this peak experience. And you can just start taking the values we identified from this experience and list them out. Again, you could do that in your handout or notes. If you did the guided meditation yesterday, you can think about the qualities that showed up for your highest self. So that's another opportunity. And when I'm working with clients and more in depth, I also use a variety of questions to help them uncover what matters most to them. But this is a great way to start. So let's see, your answers about what's possible too. I want to say this when it comes to your highest self. I know we did the meditation and those qualities came up, but just think of any qualities that are related to your highest self, or, you know, when you're being limitless. Those all could reveal what's important to you. And again, you might use words like courage or vulnerable. And so those can represent values that are important to you, like vulnerability and courage. So again, I will be quiet. I'll give you a couple minutes and I'll let you list them out. When you're ready, the next step is to start prioritizing them. So all of these things can be important to you, but could you circle which 5 values are most important to you at this point in your life? This is helping us create priorities. So in other words, you know you'd feel happiest if you honored these 5 values right now. If it's tough to figure that out, you can consider a time frame like 6 months or a year, even 3 months. So just take a moment to do that and circle which ones are most important. So when you're ready, you can see you have a list of priorities of what matters most to you, again, at this point in your life. And they're available to you, and you know they are present when you're happy. So if you honor these values, in other words, if you take action or apply different activities in your life that align with these values, you'll be happier. Again, because you're living your truth. So it sounds really simple, but it can be with awareness. And the best part is that your values can help you get tactical about what you want to do moving forward. You can use these to guide you with next steps. And as we talked about on day 1, you want to create your own unique path. So these values will help you carve out your unique path. So hopefully this feels like some good news that you're getting more and more focused on your priorities. And through this process, again, of getting to know yourself, you're prepared to think about how you want to express your true self to others and attract your desires in any area of your life, from relationships to health to career. So again, we could be going out there, and if we're doing things we should, it's not our true selves attracting what we want. But I always say this is like marketing 101. When you're clear on who you are, who you want to be, you put that out in a consistent and compelling way, you'll start to attract situations, opportunities, and people that align with your deepest desires. So I really do want to emphasize how this is showing you a new way to live, a new way to set goals. And true fulfillment and feeling energized comes from living in alignment with your core values. And I say this because I remember there was a point when I was still working my day job and building my business on the side. And most people ask, aren't you exhausted? How do you do it? And I would feel like dancing when I finished work late at night because I was doing what I loved and honoring my truth. So I just want you to remember that this is where your energy can come from when you are honoring your truth. And again, I want to emphasize how you can use these values as guideposts to make decisions and taking action moving forward. And I say that because at times there could be some things in conflict. Like at one point when I was building my career and trying to make new connections in my life, career fulfillment was higher up at that point, just because I knew that that was my big goal in my season of life, and that's what made sense. So if a certain social activity came up, I would be certain to make sure that I honored career fulfillment first, since that was my top priority. And if there was an activity that showed up that didn't align with my top 5 values, you just have to ask yourself, why would you do that? Is it a should? Really, what's coming up for you? So then tomorrow, I want to highlight again how we'll take all of this information and talk about how to develop desired outcomes with inspired next steps. So you can be more intentional than ever and ensure the path is really authentic for you. And again, we could do this for all your life areas. We'll just use one example tomorrow, but it's great to see how you could use the process in multiple areas of your life. What I thought I would do is just share a quick example of how this showed up for one of my clients. Basically, I was working with this woman who was, she's a doctor, but she also loved dancing. And she really wanted to pursue a romantic relationship. So believe it or not, saving lives sometimes doesn't leave a lot of room for fun and romance. So we were trying to get her out there more, and she wanted to belong to a dance school, and she ended up doing that. And she has been in some dance competitions, and she's winning some great awards. She also had the desire to find love, but she was concerned about how her stressful job perpetuated the doing mode, right? And how we value ourselves and others seem to value when we're in doing mode. So what we helped her do in terms of an approach was get clear on her values and have her focus on romance and fun to create goals that she was really excited to follow through on in a way that honored her truth. As you may know, if you know people going out there in the dating scene, if it doesn't honor their truth, they just don't want to do it. So it makes sense. But because she took this approach with clarity around what mattered to her, she took consistent action in an organized and conscientious way. So she was productive, but also positive to attract what she desired. And the results were very exciting. She's still growing in her empowering career. Like I said, she has all these dance awards and a really joyful marriage. I went to their wedding in Mexico last year. And the last time I wrote this slide, I didn't have this news, but she's expecting her first baby. So it's just really fun to see how it could all come to pass if you get clear and you stay on your unique path. And yeah, her path is very unique. So I'll just leave it at that. But here you go. I thought we could just, as we are wrapping up, I just wanted to show you how you can have this new approach for your goals where you can be aligned again with your truth because you know your season of life. And we were creating priorities with the wheel of life. And we ended up putting that in the life plan matrix. So you can be much more confident about your next steps. When we first met on the first day, I know some of you said you're setting goals and moving forward. And yes, maybe feeling exhausted, but sometimes we weren't even following through. And that could be because of that lack of clarity. And when you have that clarity, it helps to mitigate some of the negative self-talk. And really, more importantly, it helps you create calm. And when you're in a calmer state of mind, your brain has access to more solutions. We also got really clear on how you could empower yourself and come from a place of love for yourself and really for other people when you're connected to your highest self. So that came through in the meditation we did yesterday. And ultimately, I feel like, I hope you can see at least that you can make better choices about how you want to show up in your life and who you want to be when you're connected to that side of you, your highest self, versus that side that might doubt you and your journey. And again, you are solidifying your foundation for heart-driven success because you're honoring your values. Again, your why. I keep using air quotes because I know it's such a popular phrase now to say your why, but that is really what drives you and motivates you on the deepest level. And what I've noticed is if you're not using or leveraging these strategies and these tools, you can end up working against yourself and really against the flow of your life. That's what leads to burnout, is when you can be open to answers, but if you're forcing or engineering, isn't that draining? So before we wrap up, I thought it'd be great to have an understanding of maybe what you could work on as you move forward. And I know it can be tough to evaluate progress sometimes with some things like this that can feel intangible. So we can use a rating system if it helps. So I'll show you what I mean by that. What you could do is evaluate on a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being on the left and 10 being on the right, closer to using the strategies and tools. Do you feel like you're still at this, doing it all and just valuing yourself because of that and not clear and confident? Or can you see how you're getting more focused? So on a scale from 0 to 10, where are you falling? And please, no judgment with this, right? This is just to create awareness. When it comes to possibly feeling that doubt or you're hearing that negative self-talk, how is that compared to connecting with your highest self? Remember this part of you that has an expanded awareness, that is more compassionate and open to solutions and possibly making better choices because of it. So where are you on that scale? And even though you might have not done this meditation in the past, it doesn't mean you weren't aware of this higher self, right? You know it's there. It's always there. It's part of you. But hopefully by giving it some more shape and form, you can connect with it more and allow it to guide you. And then the last metric I thought we could look at is how you're honoring your values. Are you honoring society's definition of success? Some timeline. I often hear clients say to me, well, I should have been there faster. Like there's some timeline for finding a new job. Everyone knows you find a job in 2 weeks or less. No, I mean, there's no timeline for finding romance, a job, getting over a health situation. It doesn't exist. So we're making that up, or maybe people are telling you, people who care about you. That's the other thing we have to acknowledge. There are people who do want to support you, but is it really helping you? We want to make sure you're following your values and setting up conditions for joy and success so that action and results can come more naturally from you. So I'll be quiet for you to do this for a minute, and then I'd love to hear what's coming up for people.
So Rosie, what's coming up for me is one, the like not being able to complete stuff. And I'm realizing it's going to require a lot more choosing myself than I anticipated. And
Shocking.
being okay with saying no, like if it's going to require a lot of no's, like telling a lot of things people know and saying a no to a lot of things and being okay, like actually being okay with people being upset and being okay with everything not being perfect. And like, that's so uncomfortable.
Well, right, because I know, I'll just speak generally. Many of us have been conditioned to make sure everyone else is okay.
Yeah.
Right. And from when we were very young, or maybe we weren't even conditioned that way, but because we had limited context for the world, we thought we were responsible for other people's emotions. And that's been carried through, right, at work. And let's be honest, I know many of you, you're awesome people. So you have been there for people, you have supported people, you're great at it, and it's gotten you amazing results, probably wonderful friendships, partnerships. So it's not all bad, but if it's gotten exaggerated and you've lost yourself
Mm-hmm.
and what you desire, we all know this, it's not going to support anyone down the road. It's the cliche, but I'll say it again, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've shared this story before, Shelvana, where when my dad was sick with ALS and I wanted to be there for my family, I sometimes would take 45 minutes to go exercise. And I thought, this is so selfish. Why am I doing this? But you really need a lot of emotional, mental, and physical strength when you're caretaking for someone. And I just remember this moment where my dad ended up falling backwards on me, and I was able to catch him with my thighs, my legs, and hold him up. And I thought in that moment, thank goodness I'd been going to the gym, right? It is a literal expression of helping yourself so that you can help others when they need it. So I'm going to add a nuance to what we're talking about, Shelvana, because I know it's a struggle for many of us to say no, or hopefully, again, I oversimplified it by saying the piece around if an activity doesn't align with a value, don't do it. Easier said than done. But think about this. If someone comes to you and they say they need something or want to be with you, and it doesn't align with your timing or an activity, really ask yourself, are you hurting them by not going? If they truly need you, sure, show up. But if you're doing it from fog, fear, obligation, or guilt, what's coming up for you?
It's like I made fixing a value.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The fixer.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like and before I was in the job I'm in now, just like how we're socialized to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And my
Right.
first job literally was an event planner. So I literally, like, external validation. It's literal external validation of getting everything perfect.
Exactly.
So it just kind of fed that fire for so long.
Right. And I think that's the confusing part because you were good at it. It did
Yeah.
support you.
I would
It's
get
almost,
rewarded
yeah,
for being a perfectionist.
right. Right. And I'm not, I haven't studied food disorders, but they say that can be one of the hardest addictions because we have to eat, you have to work, you want to do well. So it's like, how do I cut out fixing? You just have to be more mindful of when you use it.
Yeah.
And if you go back to who we are and our identities, it's very tied into your identity, the fixer. And you know, when we have a certain identity, it has certain thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and results. Yep.
Oof.
I know it's a lot. I feel like I could go on and talk about how, I thought I had to be a fixer for a long time. And it's this, I literally I do something physical with my body where I put my shoulders back and my arms, you can't see, are like pushing back, and just say, okay, I don't have to respond to that email right away. I don't have to do, unless someone really needs you. Is that helping? Or
Yeah.
it's probably bringing up a lot, but hopefully helping in the long run.
That's why I'm
right?
here.
Right. Yeah. Right. We do want to bring up stuff. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that's an important insight a lot of people can relate to, being that fixer. Anyone else have questions or about their peak experience? I wasn't sure about our timing, so I wanted to stay on track as much as possible.
Hey, I was going to say, let's see, for Shelvana, I actually have to thank you, Shelvana, because when our first day of this, I started talking about a goal of going on a marathon. And you're like, just eating a good lunch is like championing something. And I've thought about that so much since then. So thank you, because it's all the little things I do each day that are going to get me there, in how I eat, how the small runs I take, stuff like that. And that's, it's the journey uh, that gets you to the goal. So thank you. And then, Rosie, I'm gonna just real quick on the talking about your dad. My dad he's been sick off and on, and I have four sisters. They're like, well, who's watching dad? And I would go to the gym at times, and I felt so guilty about it. But I did it because I was able to be so much more present, feeling better about myself to help him. But I still felt guilty going. So it's kind of nice
Right.
to hear. So anyway,
Yeah,
a little,
and
yeah.
it takes time to retrain our brains and recognize I'm not hurting anyone. I'm actually, by helping myself, I'm helping others. But thank you for sharing that, Mike. Diane, it looks like you're unmuted. I don't know if that means, and I don't know if that's you, Diane.
I'm unmuted? I am now.
There's two Dianes.
Me. Oh my gosh, how did I do that?
I don't know. Maybe you're on the phone. That's okay.
Oh, that's weird. Oh,
I was
so
only
you weren't
asking.
hearing noise. Now I'm looking here. I'm a little baffled. I guess I need to work on being more self-aware. I had a tough time with my list of values. I think I know my values in general, but when I was trying to reflect back on my peak experience, and what values fell into that peak experience, I just have to be more self-aware. I feel like, but I do think the whole seasons and the quarters and that piece that I learned, you went over yesterday, I think that's going to be really helpful because,
Agreed.
yeah.
If you want, Diane, I only have just a little wrap up, but if you want to share your story, we can try to do the values exercise. Would that feel helpful?
I mean, maybe that'll help a little bit. So basically, I'm in my second phase of my life and went back to get a master's in social work. I had previously been in corporate America. In any event, I was working at a nursing home as a field placement. And one of my classes was around groups and family therapy. So I put together this project about groups and how to make it work in a nursing home because there's kind of a lacking piece of psychosocial support. It's more about medical and safety. So I put together this whole group program. It kind of reminded me of my old marketing days where I was putting together this peer support mentoring group. Welcome to the neighborhood, I called it, 6-week program. And basically, when people get kind of dropped into their wing at a nursing home, there would be a social support group to welcome them to the neighborhood. And each week had something different. But it was fun in regard to just bringing in the nurses, the families. And then I guess the wow moment for me was that my social work director wasn't insulted because clearly, well, it's a lacking part of a nursing home and she's the director of social work, which part of that is psychosocial, assessments and family collaboration and all that. So that was kind of a risk because I was basically saying these people are high and dry. They get dropped in and they got to build a whole new life with nobody they know. And that was part of the program without really, it was obvious. So anyway, I felt like she was accepting of it. So I really obviously that position she is a wonderful person and was, understanding of it. And I was able to implement it, but I hadn't implemented anything in years. So it was nice to work with the nurse managers, to work with peer support was good for them because one woman was my age with MS. A lot of these people are very cognitively able with nothing to do. So they wanted to be a part of it. And it went, and I trained the peer mentors so that when I left the internship, they could actually, put this on with the activities director. So
Love it.
I felt good
Okay.
about it. I can't figure out what I guess collaboration, helping, acceptance, vulnerability, career success, respect.
Those are great. Do you want me to share mine? And then you can take them down and process and see, and then you can narrow down when you have time. But here's what I hear. I think those were great. Collaboration is huge. I'm going to say passion. family, support, service, contribution. I think creativity, like in building something, social connections, gathering, community, and then you even added execution, and I'm gonna say validation. It's okay to want that, to need that, as long as you don't make it your only metric for feeling confident, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So do any of those resonate with you, or I can share them again or later, but
Yeah, I didn't want to write them all down. Yeah, it does. I mean, making these people's lives better. That was sort of my, filling the empty void, the empty hole. And then also
that's your
be vulnerable.
passion.
Yeah, I felt vulnerable doing it because I didn't know how it was going to pan out.
I mean, it was beautiful, beautiful example. I love that. You can feel your energy when you shared that. So yeah, I'll send you this list so you have it. I'll email
Okay,
it to you.
thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Good. Thanks for sharing, Diane.
That's all
And
right.
it sounds awesome. Oh, and Shavana, I heard that Diane has the value of belonging. That's a great way to put it based on the example she gave, the welcome committee, right? And maybe that's even aligned with the supervisor. Like you wanted to be a part of it. You didn't want it to feel like you're coming in. So something about the group. Shavana?
It was just, I don't know, maybe I'm what's it, projecting, but when Diane, when you described there's a group of people to welcome them, it's almost like I thought about when you go on vacation in a resort and they welcome you, and just the simple act of being welcomed is so, feels so good. And for you to pick that as the example, I was like, oh, she just really wants people to feel like they belong, and without having to ask for it.
Right. Actually, the Surgeon General of the United States just recently put out a report maybe last May, talking about meaningful social connections and how healthy that is, that being a part of something, whether you're older, younger, changing from one stage of life to another, your kids go to college, or you become a new mother, or you are divorcing and your married friends are off the books. That sense of meaningful social connections and that energy you get from others can be really supportive. And you're right, belonging is a big part of that. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. And my
That's
own
a good-
belonging, belonging to Rosie's point, my own belonging, feeling validated that this was okay to do, because
I'm a part of this.
yeah,
So I love that. Thank you for refining that. I love that example of the vacation. I even feel that way at my regular coffee shop I go to. If they know my order, one man used to say hello in Italian, and I just felt like, yeah, it felt welcoming. And the blue zones, they say that's community, right? Is such an important piece of longevity.
mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing. So what I hope you can see is that there's such a big impact of living in alignment with your core values. The examples you shared were showing that, how you feel and how energized you came from that. So today we were able to do a few things just to remind you. We obviously identified your core values, what matters to you, but on the deepest levels. And remember, you could use these values as a compass or guidepost to guide your decisions and actions for true fulfillment, which then leads to that authentic achievement, meaning you're experiencing successes that resonate with your true self. And that's what gets you to lasting satisfaction. And tomorrow we'll take this truth and everything we've been uncovering, along with your vision for your life, to learn how to set goals with heart. And we'll begin to craft a roadmap that aligns your desires with actionable, but also energizing next steps so that you can incorporate them into your daily life. That is it for today. As a reminder, tomorrow is Friday and we will be meeting during the day. That would be 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Central, and 1 Eastern. Shalana knows I'm working on my time zone math. I didn't even have to practice, Shalvana. It just came
You're
up.
doing great. You're doing
Thanks. I skipped mountain. I was too scared. Anyway, oh, Sharon. 11 a.m. Yay. I knew it. Did you hear me pause? I just was too scared to say it, like I said. All right, so good to see you all. And for anyone listening to the recording, please reach out if you have any questions. And I look forward to connecting with you tomorrow, and we'll send the video out tonight again if you want to rewatch it. Okay,
Thank you so much.
take care.
Night,
Good night.
everybody.
Thank you.